Hi, I'm Bill Treiber with Artistic Finishes, and today's conversation is going to revolve around when and when not to use track with our Enduracor profiles. Now, you know, less than 10% of our customers currently are using the track. Many installers, one of the things that we researched in the beginning was, do you want us to have a track? A few said yes. Many said they take the track and throw it away. Well, we give you the option on a lot of our profiles, but there are times when the track will not work at all, and there are times when maybe you do want to use the track. Let's look into this a little bit closer. All right, so looking at the initial 6 to 10 millimeter range profiles, all but one of them, we do have the track option. 059, which is our adjustable stair nose, similar to the original in wood, the 058, would go and be mounted vertically. You can see just a section of it here and how it would line up flush, designed to be a flush stair nose. That one does not have a track option. All of the others that I will show you next do. They include our T-mold number 289, okay, which in this instance here I have about, because it is designed to be a floated floor, at about 7.5. You can see the pad on the back. This is about a 7.5 millimeter floor. For demonstration purposes, I glue it down. So I added a little bit of thickness to that, probably about a half a millimeter. We're right at about 8 millimeter. You can see that with this track, which I glued down the day before, that is one of the installation tips that we do recommend, is adhering the track the day before. And I'm going to talk a little bit about our recommended method and differences to screwing versus gluing, if you will. But the 289 works certainly. 290, it gives you another option for track. Here you would have to have a floor that would be at least 8 millimeters, because as you get into the thicker floors, you're going, or the thinner floors on the low end of this, you're going to find that this profile is limited right down to that 6 millimeter, and it does not give you the option for the track, simply because the track itself is a millimeter thick and rises 4 millimeters on the edge. So that becomes a concern when you think about proper install, so you get a nice snug fit along the edge. 290 is our reducer. 291, our square nose. Here you typically would rarely need a track. You know, some would refer to it as an end cap. It's going to fit very nicely and snug against the product, where you have a product up to 10 millimeters. If you're using the adhesive, we'll just remind you the MS-245 is what we do recommend. It's in all of our installation procedures for the Enduracor. And then lastly, and probably most important, is the 283. Now the 283, which I have here, I have glued down, and this will snugly be removed from the track. I have installed a piece of track yesterday, so this is firmly installed. I was important to use a fairly small bead, about a 1/4 inch to an 1/8 inch would be actually even possibly better, maybe a little bit thinner, so that you get a nice small bead that will go along the base of that track on the bottom, okay? And when you're you're gluing it down, you want to make sure that you're trying to stay squarely underneath the center of it, because anytime you adhere out past that, you might actually be causing a problem for clearance. And the clearance in particular would be with any flooring that you would bring within a close proximity where the adhesive has come out. It might impede that. Also with the use of a T-mold, you want to be able to you know, make sure that you can clearly. I mean, I doubt you would have that much adhesive up in there where you would impede on the T-mold profile itself. But you certainly could with a square nose. You know, if you're using the square nose that's coming over the edge like that, you might end up with a little bit of a overlay there that might prevent the T-mold from going down properly if you were to use the track, okay? Likewise with the reducer, that also could be of concern for you if you were using the track. Okay, so The last but certainly not the least, and just to demo this a little bit, even though the track has been secured, we still require additional adhesive being put down in the track so that not only do you get that snug fit, but you get a permanently locked profile. Again, even though the track secures it nicely, it doesn't confirm that it's not going to pop up. So you're going to still have to use additional adhesive to put that down. In this area, which is actually has a dimple for a reason, it increases the amount of surface area so that you get a really good bond when using the track. Okay? So the 283 is definitely a profile that can use the track, but would not be necessary in some instances. Okay, so with 288, that's our flush profile in the 6 to 10 millimeter range. It's really best offered in the 6.5 to 8.5 millimeter range. This floor being a little under 8 millimeter in its floating application. You can see that this floor is a little bit below that, but there's no adhesive yet installed. The adhesive itself would give you the ability to become flush and consistent in height with that floor. And there is actually a gluing area with the riveted back that you would use that. But here, no track would be required. Okay? So, you have the initial group of profiles in the 6 to 10 millimeter range that are really predominantly giving you the option, with the exception of 288 and the 059 adjustable stair nose, for the use of track. The next piece that I want to talk about would be our heavier, thicker floors from 10 to 15. And these floors are in design, or profiles are in design very similar to the initial set that we just showed you. The square nose is just bigger. Here you can see it actually is too big for this floor. It has a little bit of a increased downward angle, but if you were to use it without the track, you could probably come down on top of a 8 millimeter floor. The 293, which in this case, again, gives you the option of the track. With the use of the track, you would find that it would require a thicker floor to be working properly. So if you're up near the 15 millimeter range, raising it with the use of a track would be a nice option. 295, the T-mold, you can see the oversized base. Definitely is something that would be, in this case, not usable with a floor this thin, because even in the track without any adhesive, it still sits higher parallel than this floor. So you can see here you would need a floor at least 10 millimeters in height to be able to be using the T-mold 295. And then similar to the 283 is the 292. Again, this is a very thick stair nose and is designed for those thicker floors with the track option available. The last group of profiles are our thinnest group of profiles and have become greatly popular. With that, we've added a couple of flush stair nosings. The flush stair nosings that we've added, as you can see here, they do have the option, a nice inch in width section for our shim. So we start with about 3.5 millimeter thickness, and we call this our 2.5 to 5.5 millimeter range in thickness. The 340, which will be introduced this month, is a nice profile flush in a square-edged bullnose on this stair nose option for a flush stair nose in your thinner floors. We also have 298, similar to 288, only this one a lot thinner, so you can use it in those small floors again, is designed to be flush and will not be usable with a track. Neither of the flush stair nosings are designed for track option. The profiles that continue in this area, they're too small for track options, are the 300 square nose, very thin and very small, subtle range of motion there for the 2.5 to 5.5. Also the reducer, 297. Again, you can see it's a very small little reducer, yet very popular for the thinner floors where you have to change heights. And last but not certainly least, and most popular, is the T-Mold 299, which has a very small 2.5 millimeter base. And you can see that there with this. Okay? So the only other two profiles that I did not show you, which are available with any of them, is of course our wall base, 294. It's a nice 5/8 inch thick wall base. It eliminates really the need for any shoe or quarter round. We do offer a quarter round, and the quarter round 296 is available with any of the different floor thickness options. Now lastly, I do want to talk a little bit about the track itself and the installation thereof. Here I have glued the track down, and gluing the track down, particularly when using the Vaco MS245, is our recommended method of installing the track. The reason for that is whenever you take track and you want to screw it down, say you've got a wood substrate like this, and you have to, for whatever reason, feel that you need to screw it down, we would still recommend a glue assist on this, so you're still using the adhesive. But if you're going to screw it down, use a 1/2 inch flathead screw and pre-drill, probably around, these are a 5/32 drill bit size opening, about every 12 to 15 inches. You can see the distance there to maintain correct adhesion. And it's flush and it's flat, but the little difference that I see in the track with the pre-drill is that it still pulls in the edges, the channel. Be very careful when screwing track, or certainly, you know, if you're going to nail it, which we don't recommend really at all, but I've seen guys do it. Recognize the fact that you can change ever so slightly the channel of the track. That's critical because if you pinch it in, you're going to make it more difficult for your track to go down and properly take the track channel. So be aware of that. We do have riveted edges on our profiles to give you additional grab, but if you're going to screw it down, just be aware. Pre-drill, 1/2 inch flathead, a 5/32 opening is what you'll need to create, and additional adhesive for in the track. So in closing, I just want to make sure that on your next job, you'll look at the decision of whether to use track or not, recognizing that very little track is used. But if you're in a commercial setting and you have a big job where you know you're going to have a large amount of expansion, and you've got a situation where you want to know exactly where that's going to go, and maybe the installer for the floor would like the track down, giving him a distance from that so that he knows where to go, then by all means get that track down, check it on the job site with the floor so that you can make sure you've got a nice color blend with the pieces that will be next to that. And make sure that you put that track down securely with the MS245 if it's concrete, or a flathead screw if it's a wood substrate. Thanks for being with us. Hope to see you next time.